The Michigan Man Podcast, episode 205. Student ticket sales down dramatically, and the cost of enjoying your game day experience at the Big House continues to rise. Paying the price at Michigan. John U. Bacon is our guest on this week's show. This is the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome to this week's show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. If you're in your seat at Michigan Stadium when the band takes the field, and then the Go Blue M Club Supports You banner is raised, followed by the entrance of our Wolverines, it always feels like a magic moment. It's something we look forward to all year. Some things have changed over the years. We play 12 regular season games now. The stadium has lights. Music is piped into the stadium. There are huge video screens in both ends of the Big House. But in most important ways, it's still the same game day experience Michigan football fans have come to love, cherish, and share with family and friends for generations. It just costs a lot more these days for both the students and the rest of us. John U. Bacon wrote a column last Friday that appeared in the Ann Arbor Chronicle. It was titled, Paying the Price at Michigan. It was a local story, but by the weekend it was being talked about and reported by media outlets across the country. John will join us in just a few minutes on our Michigan Game Day segment to talk about that column. First, let's take a look at Wolverine news and notes for this week. Coach Hoke says Michigan still plans to try Jabril Peppers at nickel first, but isn't ruling out moving him to corner or even strong safety before it's all said and done. Peppers, along with the rest of the incoming freshmen, will report to campus on June 21st to begin summer workouts and participate in Michigan's Summer Bridge program, which allows student athletes to earn 6 to 9 credit hours for half-term summer classes, helping them acclimate to school before things get really hectic in the fall. Former Michigan tackle Taylor Lewan made an appearance on Sirius XM's Bill King Show this past week and said that Devin Gardner's success depends on his leadership skills and how the team rallies around him. Taylor thinks the sky is the limit for Devin with all of the talent he possesses. He also had praise for backup quarterback Shane Morris, who he said has a great arm and he's confident, and showed him a lot in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. He also thinks the offensive line will be much better this year. We all hope that. Coach Hoke said this year's group of seniors will not be joining the Navy SEALs for leadership training. Brady said he thinks Michigan needs to become a team again. He said we need to stay here. We need to stay together. By now, I think we've all read or heard about John U. Bacon's column that appeared in the Ann Arbor Chronicle on Friday. The column was titled, Paying the Price at Michigan. John joins us next on our Michigan Game Day segment here on the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. With us today on the show is John U. Bacon, a best-selling author, public speaker, college lecturer. If you are a Michigan fan or fanatic, you are well aware and have been entertained by John's work for quite some time. But finally, John, great to get you on the show.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, there are a lot of things when I thought about getting you on in the past that I wanted to talk to you about. But today, I just wanted to focus, John, on a fascinating column that I saw in the Ann Arbor Chronicle over the weekend. Actually, it was on Friday, I believe. The column appeared, Paying the Price at Michigan. and it has seemed to really get hot. I saw you mention on Facebook yesterday that it sort of blew up your Facebook page with over 330,000 hits. Quite a reaction.
Yeah, and you never know, of course, Mike, when you do these things, what's going to happen next, and you're in the same business, of course, so it's always a bit of a surprise, but it's clearly hit a nerve, and you never know what's going to happen next, of course. What seems to have happened in this one is that basically what I was saying about concerns about the razzmatazz of college football, about the prices of the tickets, about the customer treatment and so on, is that I seem to be crystallizing a lot of folks apparently were thinking already, so that's all it really was. But when you get 330,000 hits, or more than that now on Facebook, and Lord knows what on Twitter, where it also went national with guys from ESPN and Sports Illustrated weighing in on that as well. As a local column, it's not a big deal. I've written for the Wall Street Journal and ESPN and all the rest, many times, but this was meant to be a kind of a quiet local thing, and it blew up, which tells us that, A, Michigan fans are grabbing pitchforks and torches, which is one thing. But I was struck, Mike, that people in Florida, people in Oklahoma, Nebraska, Penn State, pretty much around the country, we're seeing the whole thing as a cautionary tale, as well as a reflection of what they are also thinking. So this is not apparently unique to Michigan.
Let's talk about a few points in the article, John. I know as a season ticket holder for over 30 years, this is something before the games in the last few years, when I sit around in Section 17, people talk about. Fans have been concerned about this. And, recently the Michigan Athletic Department admitted something we all knew. Student ticket sales were down dramatically. I guess it's from about 21,000 2 years ago to about 13 and 14,000 this fall. And, as far back as 2 years ago, you saw this coming, didn't you?
I did. In fact, you noticed in the article, as I joked, this is very easy to predict. And I did, in fact, predict this 13 months ago in my piece on the Bacon blog. But you can find all this stuff on johnnubacon.com, by the way. In my piece called Blaming the Customer. The idea of getting mad at the students for not showing up is a very bad business model, Mike. And you also think for a second, too, what you just said about, people in Section 17 grumbling about this and that. Those are the people who paid the money and have showed up. What's the grumbling going on for the people who said, to heck with this, are now home with their refrigerators and their high-def TVs and all the rest? If the people who are coming, who are still, if you will, drinking the Kool-Aid, if they're not happy, then you've got a problem, because they're truly unhappy aren't there. And I think Michigan has probably gotten a wake-up call on this one. I'm not writing this stuff to damage Michigan by any means. If they're smart, they'll see it as a wake-up call and take action accordingly, and we'll see if they are smart.
Is it fair to place some of or most of the blame on the athletic department, the current athletic department, for their seating policies over the last 2 years, or is it more complicated than that?
How about both, to be a wimp? No doubt, there are national trends at play here, Mike, you've got a rock and a hard place. The arms race is out of control for facilities, for coaches' salaries, and so on. It's gotten nuts. So your one choice there is not a good one. Either you keep up and have to raise all this money, or you drop out and you become Indiana football, which is not the goal, I don't think, for all these places. So that's the question there. The flip side is there have been policies that seem to make it unique to Michigan, the discontent of the fans. And that has started the last 4 years, it has to be said, under the Dave Brandon administration. And the proof, again, is, okay, student tickets are down nationwide, and enthusiasm, there's a bit of apathy at Michigan State, even Alabama by some measures. But no one lost 40% of their students in 2 years. That is clearly unique to Michigan. And we don't know what the numbers are for the fans at large. They're not telling us those. But we can safely assume when they're offering packages that include the Penn State game, include other Big Ten games, the packages of, up to 99, people you can get in your group, we are very confident the place is not sold out for this coming year, which and June 10th is almost unheard of. So I think that those policies are clearly a problem. The Super Bowl-ification of the games is not what Michigan does. Other schools might be fine. But to these people, it's not a rock concert, it's a religion. And you better understand that when you start, appealing to Michigan fans. The costs have gone up dramatically, $100 per seat on average, including the seat license, in just 4 years. That is an astronomical increase at Michigan. And the sad part to me is that money is not going to the athletes. That money is going largely to a 62% increase in administrative salaries in the department, not coaches' salaries, not the building program, which is a separate budget of $340 million. We're talking about marketing people, development people, administrators, and the AD's salary itself has tripled since he took over from Bill Martin, plus a $300,000 bonus. So that is where your money's going.
Dave Brandon has cited various reasons over the last 2 years for the student late arrivals at games, no-shows. I mean, he mentioned cell phones, high-def televisions. It's a national trend. But you only see that as part of the story, don't you?
It's definitely part of the story, and I'll give him that. But it's worth noting that a survey co-sponsored by the student government of Michigan, University of Michigan, as well as the athletic department, had the students rank 7 factors in importance to them attending, and cell phone service finished dead last in 7th. Unless thousands of students are lying to us, it's not that big a deal. Now, the TV thing is clearly an issue, and if you are competing with a 60-inch high-def TV, as Dave Brandon says, then you should act like it. You should then be reducing your price, not increasing it. You should not be charging us $6 for a bad hot dog or $4 for a bottle of water. You should not be showing us ads between plays. If you're competing with TV, give us something we can't get from home at TV. When we're at home with our TV, Mike, we do get ads between the plays. We're used to that. At the big house, you better not give us ads between the plays. And I don't care if the ads are for Crest toothpaste or holding your wedding reception at Michigan for an hour for $68,000. It's equally annoying. So give us the band, give us some replays. And why is it, Mike, that when I'm home, I get the replay from 3 or 4 different angles? When I'm at the stadium, I often get no replay at all. Why are we catering to the guy at home and not the guy who dropped hundreds of dollars to be there? You feel at some point when you go to the game, like you're the guy who bothered to get in your car, fight the weather, fight the traffic, fight the parking, walk into the store, only to have the clerk on the phone with the guy at home who did not bother to do any of those things. And at that point, you're a sucker. And when I'm in the stadium and I'm getting blasted with ads and rock music and so on, I feel like a sucker because the guy at home is getting the better deal and he paid nothing. So that has got to change. I'm certain of it, and that's nationwide.
Well, John, just sticking to the student aspect of it for another moment, you mentioned Dave Brandon and his staff were talking with and working with student government leaders, and it really hasn't so far affected any increase in student ticket purchases. It seems like there's a disconnect there, obviously, between the athletic department and the students. How long before this is going to cause long-term damage between the students and the administration, the athletic department administration?
Very good question, Mike, and of course, at this point, we're all guessing, so there's the big caveat there. To some degree, I think the damage has already been done. Now, how much damage has been done and how much can be recoverable, we will see, but I don't see kids at the stadium. It's too expensive. When I was a kid, it's $2, man, and we all went. And the band drew you in, and when you figure out what the band's doing, and you figure out what the team is doing, and eventually become a hardcore Michigan fan. That's not happening anymore, I don't think. That's one problem. Second of all, if you're a student and you're not going to the games at 20 when it's half price and it's no seat license, what are the odds of you going to the games when you're 40? Where are your memories? So I think that's another problem. So I think some damage has already been done. I think I'm always optimistic that a lot of this damage can be reversed, but you better start reversing it. And one thing for sure, the relationship this department has and this director has with the students could not be much worse. And when you look at the comments on my website, johnnubacon.com, I got 150 comments. I normally get 5 or 10 or 15, and they're almost all in line. And MGO Blog has got the piece as well as on Twitter. And look what the students are saying. And it was instructive to me when Patrick Doyle, who's now the CEO of Domino's Pizza, and Dave Brandon's shadow there, and he was on the board of Domino's Pizza, so he did say, not the board, but the executive board. He did say, look, I was part of the leadership team. I'm not casting blame here, and he's very clear about this. But at the Washtenaw Economic Club this past fall, he got up there and said, we had forgotten to listen to our customers. This is about Domino's Pizza. If that sounds familiar to you, Mike, that is the problem right now at Michigan. They have forgotten to listen to their customers. And at Domino's Pizza, Doyle got it right by admitting in multi-million-dollar ads, we agree, our pizza stinks, let's make it better. You guys were right. And they have made it better. The stock price is up, and the taste tests are also up. Michigan football has got to do the same thing, and basketball. Listen to your customers, make an adjustment, and actually admit when you're wrong. I've not seen that yet.
No, we haven't. And Dave Brandon said again last week he thinks ticket sales will bounce back for the students next year because of a stronger home schedule. Do you think that translates into we're not changing our student ticket policy again next year?
See, think about that. Look, there's no question. A 7-6 record 7-6 record and this clearly abysmal home schedule this season are definitely factors, no question about it. It's not just customer service and prices and the game experience and so on. But look, man, you and I have been around for a while with this, Mike. They were 3-9 in 2008. They were 5-7 in 2009. They were 7-6 in 2010. They fired the coach. They had a wait list every year. Every year until now, they had a wait list. So you can't just pin on the record. Michigan fans are pretty resilient. Bo went 6-6. Lloyd Carr went 8-4 plenty of times and went 7-5 in 2005, of course. Michigan fans hang in there. They may grumble, but they don't drop their tickets. Now they have. And so even though I think that with a better record next year, probably, and certainly a better home schedule, things will tick upward. Once you break the habit of getting season tickets and discover there are a lot of things to do on a Saturday, including stay home and watch on TV, once the habit is broken, it's a hard habit to pick back up, in my opinion. So, and once a generational chain is broken, right, is this generation going to pass it on to their kids the way my parents passed it on to us? I don't know. So that is the big unknown question we'll see answered in the years to come.
Well, John, the athletic department last week said season ticket holder renewal down a bit from last year. And again, maybe you can say that's because of the schedule. It's still hard for me to believe. From the promotions that we season ticket holders are seeing via email, it appears the waiting list is down or disappearing. The ticketing deadline...
It's gone. It is gone.
Well, and when the ticketing deadlines have been extended, I think 3 or 4 times I've been seeing via email.
Right.
It's not just the schedule. Do you think this athletic department, from what you can glean, sees this as a growing sign of disenchantment with a very loyal fan base?
I can't tell you what they're thinking because, frankly, they're thinking of this defied me for a couple of years now at least. So if I'm looking at this data, if I'm looking at these comments from fans, this outpouring of emotion, I am making some very obvious conclusions. I am not sure what conclusions they are making. And you brought up the point, too, about the wait list. One of my lines from the article is they keep on sending us waves and waves of emails, and I know you've probably gotten some of these, saying the deadline has been extended. Well, when you beg your customers to come back 5 times and more, then you don't have a deadline and you don't have a wait list. If you get online and look at the comments on all these places, you'll see people say, I've been contacted 15 times by the athletic department for tickets. People from Michigan State and Penn State who once bought tickets 2 or 3 years ago for one game, they're being hit up with emails saying, please buy tickets. So we have gone from the most popular restaurant in town to line up the door to the chef begging for you to come in and try the food. That is not a strong position.
No, it's not. Our guest here on the show today is John U. Bacon, best-selling author, public speaker, and again, all we Michigan fans very familiar with John and his wonderful work. John, in your column Friday, you cited the numbers from a survey Bill Martin commissioned in 2005 that said 50% of Michigan season ticket holders had been buying tickets for more than 2 decades, but only 9% of them also bought tickets to any professional teams. Do you think the Michigan Athletic Department is really on the way to losing that kind of loyalty?
I think they already have, to some degree, at that level of fierceness. Man, tickets, 80s, 90s, and the zeros, it was not a debate. You just did it. I mean, I never gave it any thought. The last 2 or 3 years, I started actually thinking when I signed my check, thinking, okay, what am I getting in for? And they've turned, I mean, there's a line also from the piece, when you treat your fans like customers long enough, eventually they'll start behaving that way, reducing their irrational love for their team to a cool-headed, dollars and cents decision to buy tickets or not, with no more emotional investment than deciding whether to go to the movies. And that's what we have now. You're still going to sell tickets. It will not be empty. I'm sure they'll get 80, 90, maybe even 100,000 for most of the games. But it is no longer, you've woken the customer up from their dream. The dream was, think about this. This is something that we love. This is not a rational purchase. Now it is. And so now what you have is a pretty strong objectivity where subjectivity used to be the rule. And that is something, if I'm the AD, I am concerned about and I am working hard to correct.
Well, John, you also mentioned in the article the athletic department has always followed general business practices, but it's never been run strictly as a business until now. Do you think that shift in practice is just Dave Brandon and Michigan, or is this a philosophy we're seeing from other big programs in college football?
Once again, wouldn't believe, Mike, I'll say yes. It's true at Texas, it's true at Florida, it's true at Oklahoma, it's true at Penn State. And those fans have weighed in on this article also, saying, hey, cautionary tale for all of us, it's happening here as well. Under Brandon, it's been far more aggressive at Michigan than it has been anywhere else. The budget has expanded by almost 50% in just 4 years, which is a stunning expansion for any department anywhere at any time in U.S. university history. And likewise, of course, the revenues have matched that, so he does have a $9 million surplus. But it does seem to be the trend nationwide, but it does seem to be more aggressive at Michigan than it does at other places.
Do you think we have to, or we, the athletic department, has to start and try to turn this thing around soon?
Yeah, I think very soon. Because again, if you go 2 or 3 years like this with people dumping their tickets, those are customers you're not likely to get back. That's my fear there. As far as something that I love, college football in general, and of course Michigan football in particular. So I think that does need to be addressed. And I think instead of just, fueling the arms race, Michigan, in a position of clear leadership, historically and presently, has got a unique role. They could tell everybody, look, man, we need to put the brakes on this thing. The arms race is out of control. If we don't start slowing it down, who's going to? And start, creating policies and forms and whatnot to try to put some cold water on this overheated arms race. That is part of the issue. Right now, they seem to be proud to be leading it with the facilities and so on. I mean, the problem with this nonprofit model is there's no cap to it. General Motors, they make too much profit, if you will. They give it out to the shareholders. Michigan doesn't. They just go spend it on more rowing facilities. So in that sense, in some ways, it's more dangerous to have an arms race with a nonprofit than it is with a profitable company that has to, slough off its profits to the shareholders. Michigan doesn't. They just keep it and ask for more from the fans, from the donors, and they build more stuff. And I think that is a model that is unsustainable over time.
You said you've come to believe it's not scandal that will bring down college athletics, but greed. How long can these numbers, fueled by increasingly unhappy fans, continue to skyrocket before they come crashing down to earth? You think in the next few years we are about to have an answer to that question, don't you?
I do. And look, I thought that college football is about as bulletproof as it gets because, again, the fans are irrational, they're passionate. It is not subject to the economic ups and downs the way buying a car is. It's an irrational purchase. But what I'm seeing of late is that the heels have cooled in a lot of these people. And that is a problem, again, that all college football should watch for. If you look at historically, and I've read these books and Seabiscuit and whatnot, and you probably have too, horse racing, boxing, IndyCar racing, even in my time, I've seen these things blow up. Boxing, we could not get enough of. The heavyweights in the 70s and the middleweights in the 80s with Hearns and Hagel and so on. I can't name 3 boxing champions right now. And I can still name all of them from the 70s and the 80s. So, and, IndyCar racing, man, that place was packed for the Indy 500. It's not full now. So don't think for a second that no matter how popular it is now, it can't come crashing down. And I don't think it's going to. I certainly hope it doesn't. But I think the CEO approach is the wrong one because it does not match what the fans feel and love about college football.
Well, it was a fascinating column. It's called Paying the Price in Michigan. Appeared in the Ann Arbor Chronicle on Friday. I'll have the link up to the article in my show notes page.
On the blog, it appears every Friday. The blog, you can subscribe for free.
Good deal. We'll get that out too, John. Our guest today has been John U. Bacon. If you're not a Michigan diehard, if you are, I should say, you need no introduction to John and his great work. Includes 3 bestsellers, Fourth and Long, The Future of College Football, Bo's Lasting Lessons, my favorite, and 3 and Out, Rich Rodriguez and the Michigan Wolverines in the Crucible of College Football. John, there's plenty more I'd like to pick your brain about, but we'll save that for another time. For now, thanks for being our guest. I enjoyed it, John.
Mike, I'll come back anytime. Always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
If you didn't get a chance to read John's column over the weekend, just visit www.johnnubacon.com. That's www.johnnubacon.com and check it out. Coming up next, Wolverine Quick Hits as we wrap it up for another week here on the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW. Go Blue, Michigan Wolverine. On Wolverine Quick Hits this week, Coach Brady Hoke announced the addition of transfer running back Ty Isaac to the Wolverine football program. That was made official on Tuesday. Isaac comes to U of M after spending 1 year at the University of Southern California. We're excited that Ty has decided to join the Michigan football family, said Hoke. I know it was important for him to get back to the Midwest to be closer to his mom and family, so I think it's a great fit for everyone. Ty's a big back with really good speed and catches the ball extremely well out of the backfield. He certainly adds depth and competition to a position we feel very good about. Isaac appeared in all 14 games for the Trojans last season, rushing for 236 yards on 40 carries with 2 touchdowns and hauling in 4 receptions for 57 yards. Isaac set career highs in rushing yards, 87, carries 11, and TDs 2, in the 62-28 win at California on November 9th. The 6'3", 225-pound running back also saw significant action on special teams during his lone season at USC. University of Michigan junior right-handed pitcher James Bork and junior left-handed pitcher Trent Skutnik were selected on the 3rd day of the 2014 Major League Baseball first-year player draft on Saturday. Michigan has now had at least 1 player picked in the draft in 16 of the last 17 seasons. Bork was drafted by the Washington Nationals in the 14th round, while Skutnik went to the Detroit Tigers in the 20th round. Michigan also had signees Drew Lugbauer, Jace Vancina, and Grant Reese selected in the draft. Lugbauer was picked by the Toronto Blue Jays in the 21st round, while Vancina was selected by the Texas Rangers in the 26th round. Reese was picked by Detroit in the 31st round. The Collegiate Women's Sports Award announced on Monday that sophomore Sierra Romero of the University of Michigan softball team is one of 4 nominees for the Honda Sports Award in softball. The Honda Sports Award is presented annually by the CWSA to the top women athletes in 12 NCAA-sanctioned sports and signifies the best of the best in college athletics. The winner of the Sports Award becomes a finalist for the Collegiate Woman Athlete of the Year and the prestigious 2014 Honda Cup. The softball nominees were chosen by a group of experts representing the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association. The nomination continues a torrent of postseason honors for Romero. She was recently named All-America First Team, her second All-America honor in as many seasons, following a second team selection in 2013. The sophomore was also one of 3 finalists for the USA Softball Collegiate Player of the Year Award. She won the Big Ten Player of the Year for a second season in a row and was a unanimous All-Big Ten first-team pick, so congratulations to Sierra Romero. Well, it's almost summer, and we're headed into that quiet time of the year for Michigan athletics. There is still plenty to talk about, though. That's what we do every day, all year, here at GBM Wolverine. Visit www.gbmwolverine.com and sign up for free membership today. You'll get email alerts when a story is published, and you'll have access to our very active message board. Just because it's summer doesn't mean we're on vacation. Stay in the Wolverine loop this summer by becoming a member. Visit www.gbmwolverine.com and sign up for membership today. It's free. Remember to like us on Facebook at The Michigan Man Podcast and follow us on Twitter at The Michigan Man. The show app is now available in the iTunes Store, the Android Store at Amazon.com, and the Windows 8 App Store. You can also listen to us with 2 easy-to-use free apps, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher Radio on Demand. If you listen on your laptop or desktop, visit the iTunes Store and set up free delivery of the show. We have some great guests coming up this summer, so get one of our apps, and you won't miss an episode of the show wherever your travels take you this summer. Thanks again to my guest today, John U. Bacon. If you missed John's column on Friday, visit www.johnnubacon.com and check it out. A reminder, we are on our summer schedule of 2 shows a month until the beginning of August, when we'll resume weekly programming in anticipation of the upcoming football season. That means our next show will publish on June 25th. That will do it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed our interview with best-selling author John U. Bacon. Make sure you tell a friend about the show and join us in 2 weeks for our next program. Have a great Wolverine week, everyone. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Take care, and as always, go blue. Thanks for listening to the Michigan Man podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. You can find us on the web at www.gbmwolverine.com. That's www.gbmwolverine.com. For audio posts or other fan feedback, please call our listener line at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Email fan feedback to the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. That's the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan. The Michigan Man Podcast is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue.